So hey, happy October. And we know it's Halloween season and all this kind of stuff. You see all the people with crazy decorations. Right. Side note, one thing I don't like about Halloween is that people don't color coordinate their decorations. It just
really?
It be way too much going on.
Coordinate.
Listen, like you guys
are really thinking about color coordinating.
But I guess that's the theme of Halloween.
They're trying to make it scary. Right. And that's the whole point. And you would be thinking about it's not color coordinating.
Why settle for less when you know you're a queen?
Hey ladies, it's Jalisi and Ciante here with Fierce, Faithful, Fabulous.
What we wanted to talk about is something a little spooky. I'm still trying to
let it go.
Ooh, where dreams go to die. I don't know why it's like the ghosts. It is kind of a scary thing though, because a lot of times, I know for myself over the past year, just dealing with what I think was depression, dealing with anxiety, and just dealing with this spirit of complacency is what I'm gonna call it.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to this point to where you've experienced this disappointment and this disappointment, this discouragement. You've experienced this hurt or this loss in whatever area of life that is just like the things that God placed on the inside of you, the dreams, the goals that you had, it seems like they died. Or they're weak and broken and damaged. And it's like, I don't know how this is ever going to happen. I don't know how this is going to come to pass. I don't know how this thing is going to live. I don't know how it's going to flourish. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. The place where dreams go to die.
Yes.
That's the bats coming out of the cage. Okay. So back in May, just talking about this, we had started doing this journaling challenge where you challenged me and you were doing it as well to journal each day. And so I was just reading through this journal, right? And I was just not in a good place at all. Like I was really sad and really just down and feeling like, I don't even like to admit this, but feeling really defeated. Like feeling super defeated. So I'm reading through it. The beginning of May is just defeat, sadness, sorrow. And then a couple days, into the month, I'm really just starting to ask God, like, God, I don't want to feel like this. I need you to help me. I don't know what to do to change this. I haven't felt like this before. Just all these things, just pouring my heart out to God, even in the middle of feeling discouraged and feeling like depressed, and like it felt so almost hopeless. Like it really did. Like God, I don't know how to change this. I cannot shake this heaviness that I'm feeling. And so just praying. Well, not really praying, but journaling. I was writing to God. Right. I was writing to God. So talking to him about it. And then toward the end of the month is when we did our residue challenge. Mm-hmm. And I had to teach the second or third day. I can't remember whichever one I taught. And I really didn't want to, because I was like, my heart is not in the right posture. Like, it is not in a good place. And I didn't. And I remember you encouraged me. You was like, you can teach from that aspect. Because you was like, it's people going through that. And just press through. You can teach about how God is dealing with you with that right now. Like maybe a day or two before we did that challenge, I was talking to my grandmother. And we talked about this at a chat and chat. But she was talking to me about Job. And how God had, said, hey, this is my servant Job. Have you tried him? And Satan was basically like, the only reason he served you is because you got his hand on him. And when we were talking about that thing slapped me in my face. I was just like, God, I was like, Jesus, like, I don't want to be where I'm only serving God because things feel good. And I'm only worshiping God because things feel good and are going right. Like, in that moment, I was like, I gotta not, like, it doesn't matter what I go through. I'm supposed to still be worshiping God. And when it was my turn to teach the session, I wrote in this journal, and I wrote something like, I think I just taught myself into a breakthrough. I said, because I can't stay in this hopeless place, and if God and the devil take a bet on me, I want God to win. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like, I want God to win. Like, I want him to be able to trust me if I lose everything. And so I just started looking at my life, and I was like, even the things that I'm going through, it could be worse. And I really don't like to say, oh, worship him, because it could be worse, because what I'm going through still hurts. It's still,
you don't want to ignore
it really could have been worse. I was like, I need to change my perspective and change how I'm looking at these things. And then even in the middle of still dealing with that, like, still all of a sudden, God just started working on my heart. And it wasn't until I was really ready to receive it. And it's just so tight looking at this journal. I'm so glad we did that. Looking at how, like, my prayers were starting to change. Like, God, I don't want to feel like this. But I was still pouring out the honest real. I was like, today was a sucky day, blah, blah, blah. But God, I'm trusting you because it could be worse. And I wrote down things I was grateful for. And then May 20, whatever that was, I wrote down like, hey, I think I've got a breakthrough. Like something has broken off of me. I'm going to dive into God more. And then a couple days later, I just got blessed with a job. Like, good things are already starting to change. Look how like God was moving just within that time span. Where I felt like things was hopeless. I felt like there was nothing was going to change in my life. How was it going to change? How was I going to lift this heavy spirit off myself? And then once I handed it over to God and remembered who God was to me, like who he was in my life, that he wasn't just there just to bless me, you know, that I'm created for him, to give him glory. In the middle of the bad things, in the middle of the hard things, in the middle of the tough things, I am supposed to give him glory. And when I really wrapped my mind around that, and then I started thinking about the fact that my life could be in a much worse position, something just snapped and broke. And I know it was only God. I know it was God because even in the middle of that, even though I wasn't spending time in prayer and reading and worshiping like I should have, I never really left God. You know, I still was like, God, like, I don't feel like praying, but I'm talking to you, you got to do something.
Right.
And I think because I kept that open, that he was able to still do a work in my heart because I didn't completely close off from me. Like, I legit felt like my dreams was dying. Like, I was starting to get to this place where this is just how I'm going to be. I'm going to just live in Muskogee forever. I'm never going to pursue anything else. Just maybe I'm not meant to have more. Maybe I'm not meant to, like, really be about Fierce, Faithful, Fabulous or Audacious Fiance. Maybe this is all it is for me. I had to really express that and give that to God. Like, I couldn't pretend with it. I couldn't, like, keep faking the funk and faithing it like I was trying to make it because I wasn't. Like, I was hurt. I was down. I was sad. And I was feeling like, what was the point of all of this? What have I been doing? Just feeling all of these things. And I felt like it was all dead. That I'm grateful to God that I was able to keep telling him. And I think that's where we make a mistake a lot of times, is that we get in this shell and we decide we don't want to open up to God. Like, we don't want to talk to God about it. We don't want to give it over to God. Especially when you've experienced, when you've experienced where it feels like he didn't come through for you or whatever. You try to keep it away. But I just, for some reason, because I've been saved a long time, even in the middle of the hurt, it's like, I'm still going to keep telling you about this. And I'm grateful for that, because while I was still pouring out, he was able to pour back into me. And here it is, October, and I feel like I can't even really relate to what I was writing in that journal. Like, I am so far away from how I was feeling then, and I could cry. Because I had never felt like that in my life. And it felt so bleak. And it was like, I'm just stuck in this forever. I don't know how it's going to change. And when I was reading over it, I couldn't even relate to how I was feeling in it anymore. Because I was like, I don't feel anything like that anymore. And it's still a lot that God is doing in me and that I'm still like giving over to him. But just the fact that I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel hopeless anymore. It's just a blessing, because I was in the place where, in the middle of depression, in the middle of anxiety, worry, fear, all these things, in the middle of kind of not caring, but kind of still caring because I was dealing with anxiety. But so it's like I still did kind of care, but also I didn't, because I was just like, well, maybe this is where I'm supposed to settle. Like, maybe this is what my life is. Pastor Todd, he's done the series about what is it called? Planted Not Buried. He talked about how sometimes, because death and planted seems like the same thing, because they're both in a dark place. Jesus. They're both in a dark place and they're both covered. So where you think something is dead, and that's how it felt for me. That's how I felt. I felt like it's just, why I keep praying, why I keep asking God, why I keep doing anything, because how can it make it from here? How can I get to anywhere from where I am right now? Not realizing that God had only planted me. I was like in the soil, and where it seemed dark and it seemed scary and it seemed like all hope was lost, hope was not lost.
I think another perspective that we can come from when it comes to dreams dying is sometimes I feel like we don't really believe that that dream can really like come true for us. Like God calls us to something really, really, really huge that we can't even really fathom like ourselves. And sometimes like our habits and the things that are about us, like who we are, like I can't be that person, God, that you have called me to be. And I think more so that's been more so my story. The person that God has called me to be sometimes seems unreachable to me. And because she seems unreachable, for some reason, like I self-sabotage, like terribly. Like, it's so bad. So another perspective of, like, instead of, like, our circumstances really killing our dreams, sometimes we're killing our dreams ourselves. Like, we're digging up that ditch and we're putting our dreams in that grave ourselves through self-sabotage. Just not believing that, like, God called us to something greater. We talked about today at church, Jeremiah. And Jeremiah, he was young. He was, you know, he didn't think that he could be a prophet to the nations. And God is like, don't say that you're young. Like, I've called you. Like, I have called you, Jeremiah. Like, you are the one that I want to prophesy to the nations out here. Sometimes I go through this stint of where, like, I call it, you know, a little rebellious, you know, but...
Speaking of October.
Stop it.
Rebellion.
Stop
That's a form of witchcraft. That's what the saints say.
Terrible. I'm sorry, Lord. Even though I go through these stints, God always, like, his faithfulness is always there, and he's always there to just, like, come on, like, once you're done pouting, because that's really what we're doing on the inside. We're just acting out, pouting, dealing with things. Like, that's just how I deal with stuff instead of actually facing it in the healthy way. That's my unhealthy way of doing it, just acting out. But God is always there, like, faithfully, and what's really awesome is, speaking of our residue challenge, when Monica was talking about hers and how basically you need to force yourself to follow God and to do things of God. Sometimes when we're in, like, those little stints, or we're feeling some type of way, if we really had a good understanding, like, hey, this is me acting out, so I have to get myself to a point where I'm forcing myself to read his word. I'm forcing myself to get to know him. I'm forcing myself to still talk to him. I had periods where I would, like, and when I was during my rebellion, I would go away and I wouldn't try to talk to God, and I would, like, you know, leave him alone for, like, months. But now, while I'm in the middle of my mess, like, I'm always talking to God. I'm like, Papa, listen, I'm sorry I want to do this, but I'm just going to turn off the music real quick. I'll be back. Okay. Like, me and God are in constant communication now during this time, because our relationship has kind of got to that point, because I know God is not going to leave me. I know that, like, where I am right now, like, I know God is going to end up using this. That's not an excuse for me to be in this mess, but I know God is using this, and that he wants me to be able to figure things out, and he's working things out in me. So I know those things. So I'm not trying to lose communication with God. Like, me and God are going to constantly always be talking, and while we're doing that, when I eventually get in my head, like, this is some mess and I'm messing up my life and I'm killing my dreams, like, God is right there being in. He's like, let me resurrect that. Let me resurrect what you did. It's okay. It's okay. Like, that's what the grace does. Like, it's okay, all these things that you did. It's okay that you think that you might have killed that dream and that you buried it and it's long gone. But God, through his grace and through his mercy, God is like, let me resurrect those bones. Let me resurrect what you put down there, because I gave you that dream. And so if I gave you that dream, it's going to happen.
That's what's so amazing about God. He can use all of that mess, the junk, the self-inflicted, the stuff that was out of our hands, you know, out of our control. He can use all of that mess as fertilizer.
He's going to.
For our dreams. Like, our dreams will grow even more beautiful because of all the mess and the junk that we've experienced. Not, like you said, not an excuse to just go out there and just do all this stuff. But that's what God, he will use all that ugliness, all that dirt, all that junk. Like, where you think you've killed it, where you think you have messed it up, where you think it's too much junk, it's too nasty, it's too stinky, it's too just ugly. God's like, I'm using that. And he, even Pastor Todd, he talked about how his wife was gardening and how, like, real gardeners know, like, certain type of fertilizers will help your plants, your crops to grow even better. So I really just want to encourage y'all, like, do not give up on your dreams. Recognize, like, it is not hopeless. If it feels like you're in a hopeless situation because life is out of control, or you keep making mistakes, and I keep doing these bad things, or I keep doing whatever, there's nothing that's out of God's hands. There's nowhere that you can be or go, that you can get pushed or shoved, that God can't reach down and grab you. Your dream does not die. It doesn't die. It doesn't. In the Bible, it says that wherever, there's no place that we can go that we can outrun God's presence. Even in the depths of hell, his presence is there. There's nowhere that your dream can go that it will just die, because if God put that thing in you, then his presence is all wrapped up in that dream. It's in that dream.
That is
so
him.
It's not
like, that is him. I think that's what
we were like,
right. I think that's what how we miss it. It's because like that dream is God.
Right.
Like that very thing that
So
if you took out like really close your eyes and just imagine yourself without all the junk, with endless resources, with all this stuff, like that very core thing that you think about that comes to your mind when all that stuff is out of there's no hindrance. That's God.
Yes.
That is God's dream. That is what he created you for.
Yep.
And so we think that that's dead, or we think that we're not valuable enough or worthy enough to be able to accomplish that dream, but we are. That's the reason why God created us. Yep. And so if God created us for that very reason, he's going to make sure it happens.
Yes.
And we just need to get out of our own way. Right. And we need to stop letting circumstances and our environments control or tell us who and what we're going to be. God said this is what we're going to be, and that's what we're going to be.
Because just like with Jesus, it seemed he died for those 3 days.
Right.
Like it seemed like all hope was lost. And we may be in that same position with our dreams, where it seems like all hope is lost, it's gone, it's never going to happen. I've done too much, life is too hard, right. I lost hope, I just don't see it happening. But like we already talked about, like God can breathe resurrection life back into everything that seems dead. He can bring it back to life. Yes. So even if it seems dead and buried, he can bring it back up. So don't throw in the towel on your dream. Your dream has not died. It has not died. All right, y'all. So we hope that you've been reminded that your dream does not have to die, that it hasn't died, that if it feels buried, yes, death and burial seem like the same thing, but actually you've been planted. We hope that you've been reminded and inspired, and we pray that God will empower you to really go out and live that dream, go out and make that dream happen through his power. We want to leave you with 2 things to do, 2 calls to action, 2 challenges, very simple. First, I want you to start daily journaling. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be about any specific thing, just pouring out your feelings, how you felt that day, and be brutally honest. Be honest, because the only people that see that is you and God, and he already know how you feel, so don't try to hide it, because he knows. So you might as well express it. Like I said, you got to pour it out so that God can fill you up with something else. Because pour out how you're feeling, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever. Pour it out on those pages. That way, over time, you can look back and see like what God has done for you each day. You can look back and see how you were feeling then versus how you're feeling now in present. In the future. Do it for 31 days. 31 days straight of journaling, and if you happen to miss a day, just go ahead and make up for that day. Like, catch up on those days, because I had to do that too. Like, go back and just write something else. But whatever you're feeling, if it's grateful, and if it's hurt, whatever, pour it out for 31 days.
And like she said, it doesn't have to be long. Sometimes I have a lot of journal entries where I'm just like, Papa, I'm not feeling it.
Right. Like, this has been a Saturday. Do something about it, Lord.
Right. Our second call to action is I want you to really just sit down and really close your eyes and really think about what it is your dream is. Taking away all hindrances, you have endless resources, you have the perfect situation. I mean, really, like, your family's great, you got all the support you need, you got this, you got, you have everything lined up for you. What is it that you would be doing? Like, what is it that's going to really, like, that really makes your heart smile, that you really believe is going to be purposeful and fulfilling? And write that down. And then not only that, ask God to bring that dream into fruition. Ask God to clarify that dream for you, because sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes, like, I mean, he gives us little puzzle pieces and he kind of shows you like, oh, you're supposed to be doing this, and you're like, what in the world is that? What in the world is that? Ask God to clarify that and to really just show more pieces to you. Like, he'll do it if you ask for it, but he'll also do it when he's able to trust you, when you're able to start communicating more. If you guys are communicating more often, like, I mean, of course that's going to come up in your conversations, because you're going to be doing his will for your life, and you're asking him about that. You're asking him for him to give that to you. So he's going to definitely do that.
So thank y'all so much for checking out this video. Subscribe on YouTube, Fierce Faithful Fabulous. Follow on Instagram, Fierce Faith Fab 1. Follow us on Facebook, Fierce Faithful Fabulous. If you have questions, prayer requests, anything, you can email us at fiercefaithfulfabulous@gmail.com. Be on the lookout for more from Fierce Faithful Fabulous. The t-shirts, we got prayer journals, we got all kind of awesome things coming. And that's how it feels on the inside. But thank y'all so much for watching. And remember, your dreams have not died. God can bring them to life. Put it in his hands. Bye, y'all.
We're out. Bye.
You know you're a queen. You're better than that, beautiful and unique. Open naturally.